Welcome to the ergonomic assessment, assignment 2 for OHS 6133. So what we've had a look at here is workstation assessments and more specifically home workstations. A couple of things with workstations or home workstations. They're used for approximately 30 hours per week in this workplace. Used for part-time study as well, approximately 10 hours a week spent at that workstation. Space and cost are two significant factors in the development and maintenance of these home office workstations. Working from home is a contentious issue in terms of workers' compensation and general liability, particularly given that it's these injuries are chronic musculoskeletal conditions, and it's fairly contentious as to whether or not work activities may have caused or contributed to the issue. Home workstation assessments for workers are a reasonable consideration given the potential for injury and the subsequent workers' compensation claims. So some of the issues around home workstation assessments. Workers' right to privacy. We need to be careful poking around someone's house. The domestic nature of the equipment and the furniture, often found in home office workstations. Outcomes. So who's going to pay to fix the problems? Dubious employer responsibility, which we discussed a little bit on the previous slide, and compliance monitoring. So once we do the initial assessment, how do we know what's going on after the fact? The assessment that we used for this assessment was developed by Queensland's Department of Education, Training and Employment. It is titled the Workstation Ergonomic Self-Assessment. The selected checklist is concise, it's easy to interpret and complete without specialised equipment. A criticism of the checklist might be that it is quite basic. Its weakness is its biggest strength, though, really, in that no special equipment is required, very limited training required for someone to complete this checklist in a satisfactory manner. The checklist was developed pretty recently, so 2013. The content was validated by literature review prior to its use. So the first thing we had a look at was the office chair. Due to the height of the desk, which was 720 millimetres, and the vertically challenged worker, 178 centimetres, feet were not adequately supported on the floor. So AS/NZS 4442 notes that fixed height worktops are an ergonomic compromise to facilitate taller users. So to suit all other users, additional equipment is required. In this instance, a footrest. Bridges states that back pain can result when the spine is forced out of equilibrium by uneven torque exerted by the system's antagonistic muscles. So having to sit with inadequate support at the desk for long periods of time tends to pull or push the hips in whichever direction and causing a misalignment of that spine and therefore resulting in back pain. A footrest in this example would help alleviate some of the issues that we saw here. Back pain related MSDs made up 9.5% of total MSDs between 2009-10 and the 2013-2014 period. 5.4% of MSDs were attributed to sitting furniture. So whilst it's pretty hard to say what percentage of those back-related MSDs were actually sitting furniture related and vice versa, there's no sort of data that gives us any real correlation there, but there certainly is enough data there to say that we have something that it's worth having a look Figure 1 down the bottom there provides some idea of the assessment criteria for the office chair. Moving on, we've got the keyboard and the mouse and any other input devices that are primarily required. Okay, so the mouse and the keyboard allow for neutral wrist position and support for the upper arms. The keyboard features a contoured palm rest which offers excellent support to the user's wrists and minimises ulnar deviation. The mouse is contoured for a natural grip and is quite large for a wireless mouse, but it is still small and requires the user's hand to clench. This does cause some discomfort after a period of time, and possibly that should be looked at. The work surface. So the work surface is small. It was 650 millimeters by 1400 millimeters. There may be an advantage to relocating the laptop, which in the middle of the picture there, as you can see, takes up a considerable amount of space right in the middle of the desk there. ASNZS 4442 states that a worktop should be bigger. So that is figure 1 there is, we've just extracted an image from the standard, and what it shows is that work surface, ideally about 1600 millimeters by 650 millimeters is the width of the desk, and it should be approximately 700 ideally in that primary work zone. The work surface is laid out with the most commonly performed task interfaces positioned centrally to the user's hands, which is an ideal situation. Again, the location of that laptop really does, I guess, inhibit best use of that space. The accessories, okay, so the accessories that we assessed appeared to be adequate. Through the layout was suboptimum, so we're talking about, again, the location of the laptop and the docking station. We figure moving that laptop and that docking station would provide a little more space. Okay, so findings and recommendations. So we're going back to the office chair. The main recommendation there, or really the only one, was to obtain a footrest. So there's 3 options provided there between $29 and $179. The $29 one has an adjustable angle but no adjustable height, and in this instance would be fine for the worker at that workstation. So we're talking about an outlay of $29 to fix that issue. The findings and recommendations for the keyboard and the mouse. The existing keyboard and mouse facilitate reasonably good posture. There may be added benefit to investing in a keyboard and mouse combination with better ergonomic attributes such as Microsoft Sculpt ergonomic keyboard and mouse. The above mentioned mouse is smaller than the existing mouse though, and the existing one is already possibly too small. So what we would probably consider is an alternative such as a vertical mouse, which is down there in figure 2. Vertical mouse might be a good idea for operators with particularly with bigger hands or sit at the desk for long periods of time. Okay, so the work surface. Relocating the laptop and the docking station has increased the usable space on the desk. This is a great example of a fairly obvious solution to an ongoing problem that wasn't considered until the ergonomic assessment was actually completed. So yeah, even though it was a real no-brainer, it wasn't really considered at all until the exercise was undertaken. So for accessories, the accessories were arranged slightly differently to free up space on the worktop. Whilst the ergonomic impact was minimal, there has been significant improvement to available workspace and consequently productivity. The user also reports he is far less frustrated by the lack of space. So one of the issues that we identified early on in the piece was monitoring and review of workstation assessments. The assessment tool selected is a self-assessment tool. That's one of the real strengths of this tool, particularly given that we're assessing someone's home. The advantage of a basic checklist in this situation means personnel can assess their own homes. The only cost associated with the findings in this instance was a $29 footrest. The assessment may be completed periodically to ensure personnel maintain or improve their workstations as required. References on the final slide. Thank you very much.